Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Opinion Leaders, and it's Saturday once again. And today we have a very controversial topic about HIV and AIDS. We will acquaint ourselves with AIDS and HIV, what it is, how it is diagnosed, and how do we treat it, if at all. And with me right now are two of my very distinguished guests, Mr. Bric Bernas from the AIDS Society of the Philippines, and Mr. Humphrey Gorriceta, a person living with HIV and an HIV advocate. So good evening, guys, and it's very nice of you to be here this evening.
Good evening, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, good evening, William.
Okay, my first question is to you, Bric. Can you tell us, and of course the public, what is HIV and what is AIDS? Because usually, you know, the two tend to be interchanged. So first is, what is HIV?
Basically, HIV is the virus, which stands for human immunodeficiency virus, and AIDS itself is the disease. It's the end stage of the HIV process.
Okay, and how is it diagnosed? Because, you know, when AIDS came out, I was a very young boy at the time, but there was really a lot of talk about it. There are a lot of, let's say, myths, right? Basically on how you get it, what it does to you. So how is it acquired, and how do you know when you have it?
Well, for one, HIV is transmitted from sexually contact through sharing needles, dirty needles.
Okay.
And also to mother to baby, either during pregnancy, delivery of the baby, or breastfeeding with the baby.
Oh, I see. Even something that, you know, something that random, like breastfeeding, the virus can be transmitted this way.
Yes.
Okay.
If the mother's HIV infected.
Okay, so these are the most common ways that it is acquired.
Correct.
Okay, and how is it diagnosed? Let's say, for example, we basically take for granted that we live healthy, right? Or it's always that whole concept that it happens to other people and not to us. So how would you know when you have it? Because I understand it takes a long time for the virus to actually develop in the body.
Well, there is a HIV test, and it's through a blood test.
Okay.
And it's a two-step process. There's a screening process, and there's a confirmation process. And usually, we always recommend somebody who are sexually active or who has been in high-risk behaviors to get tested at least 3 to 6 months after the risky behavior.
Okay, but this blood test, is it different from, like, for example, your random ordinary blood test that you get in the hospital, like for a general checkup? Will they be able to tell that you have HIV from this test, or is it a more comprehensive one? Do you have to request it? How is it done?
It is called an HIV antibody test.
Okay.
So basically what the test is looking for are HIV antibodies. The thing here is the antibodies are produced in our immune system once the virus is in the blood. So there's no reason why those antibodies are present in someone's body if the virus is not there. So it's automatic.
Oh, okay. And with these antibodies, it's basically, even with the antibodies, it's not enough to actually combat the virus in our system, right?
Well, eventually, if you're not taking care of yourself, those antibodies will wane out, or will be depleted.
Okay.
Because when you get the virus replicates through your immune system.
Okay. So when you say replicates,
it divides itself, and it incorporates itself in your body cells. So it's not like all other diseases that your antibody can fight it. It incorporates itself.
So it becomes part of you, becomes part of your system.
Yeah, that's why it's difficult to find a cure for HIV, because HIV is embedded in your DNA. So it will take a person's DNA to be dismantled to figure out how to cure the virus. But we have people doing that.
And also, for one thing, it's a virus. So meaning to say, once you have it in your system, it stays in your body, like just hepatitis. Once you
So
have that,
it's dormant in the body, depending on your immune system.
yes, it depends on your. If you have a healthy system, it can be, it's still there, but once your immune system goes down, the symptoms will come up.
So with this being said, Bric, you mean it is possible for a person to acquire HIV and be HIV positive and not necessarily develop full-blown AIDS?
Correct.
So this is possible if you maintain, let's say, a healthy lifestyle, healthy immune system. So it's just like other lifestyle diseases, like, let's say, diabetes.
Correct.
If you don't trigger it
Correct.
and you take care of it,
Correct.
you may not get
Yes.
sugar. You may not get hyper or hypoglycemia.
Correct.
Something
So
like
it's
that.
basically you're managing the symptoms.
Okay, so that's a very good point, because a lot of people think once that you have AIDS, I have AIDS or I'm HIV positive, then therefore I'm going to die, which we're clearing out that this is not necessarily the case.
Correct. That's why we always advocate for a person to get tested. The
Yes.
earlier you get tested, the earlier you get diagnosed, the longer you live.
Okay, but Bric and Humphrey, I guess we can't deny the fact that a lot of people here in the Philippines, especially here in the Philippines, would be too embarrassed, or like even if they slightly suspect that they could be HIV positive, they don't want to go through that whole process of letting anybody know and go to the doctor, get the blood test, and find out that they could be HIV positive. So if we maintain this attitude, I mean, there is a possibility that once that they get tested, it's going to be a lot harder than if you do it in the early stages, just like cancer, right?
Yeah, valid, yes. I mean,
Okay.
you have a point.
Okay, so let's talk about treatments, because here we've already basically diagnosed it, and then we talked about it. It's been introduced. So they're two totally different things: AIDS and HIV.
Correct.
And how do you treat it
Well, you need to be
or manage it?
Well, you need to be under supervision of a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So usually that's the case, and there are medications out there for people who are HIV positive. It doesn't mean that if you're HIV positive, you need to be on medication right away.
Okay.
So there's certain tests that needs to be done for someone to qualify to go to a regimen or a medical or should I say treatment.
So not every HIV positive patient goes through a certain treatment. So it's case to case.
Correct.
Okay. And speaking of case to case, can we talk about high risk factors? Who are high risk for HIV? Like, what are the common, like we talked about needles? Basically, it's bloodborne, right? This is a bloodborne bloodborne disease or condition. So what are some of the common ways of acquiring this here in our society in the Philippines and
You want to answer that?
Well, I mean, again, it's through 4 bodily fluids.
Okay.
So
And these
mainly semen, vaginal fluids, blood, and breast milk.
Yeah.
Oh, so these are the 4 and only the 4.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily true that if, like, let's say I'm HIV positive and I kiss somebody who isn't, it cannot be transmitted through saliva.
It cannot.
Cannot.
Yeah.
Not even if, let's say, you have a cold sore or you have a wound in your... So all of this, or you're shaking hands with somebody and you not even through mucus, nothing like that.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very good point. So at least this gives peace of mind to our televiewers, and I mean, to educate all of us. Because, to be honest, I mean, I didn't know all of this because I don't really know of anybody. Maybe it's either I don't know or nobody's been brave enough to actually come out in the open and say, hey, I have this, unlike different types of cancers. I mean, they have no... It's sad, but you see, people can actually talk about it. But HIV is a slightly different thing. I hope soon, we will be able to have a society in where we can accept anything that happens to a human being, whatever it is. This because we need to. It's going to help.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge here. The fact that information. I mean, but it's hard to educate somebody if they don't have the basic information. So in terms of HIV, if you don't have the right information,
Right.
that's the problem. So that's one reason why we still are having a problem here in the Philippines.
I want to go back to, since he mentioned about basic information, and I want to go back to what you said earlier about transmission via kissing.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about cold sore.
Yes.
People might need to reconsider doing that, because when you have an open wound, that's an opportunity for the virus to go inside your body.
So there is a remote chance.
Yeah,
that
there's always the risk of transmission, especially when you have bleeding gums, when you have gum problems, when you have open sore in your mouth. So just to go back in that case, just to remind our viewers, there's always a risk.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's always good to
to be
protect
safe
yourself.
Yeah.
And taking off from where Bric mentioned about basic information, I should agree. I will agree that it's basic information that we are lacking here, at least in our country.
Okay, and this is what I'm sure our advocacy is, right? To bring this out in the open. So to be able to spearhead that, do we have any statistics right now? Let's say in the Philippines, particularly. What are the ages, like male, female, homo, heterosexual?
Current statistic shows that a majority of people who are infected with HIV virus are male.
Okay.
They are in the ages of, the highest right now is between the ages of 25 to 35 years old.
So 10 years, at 25 to 35, this is where the concentration is.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it's acquired through unprotected sex.
Okay.
So those are the basic demographics.
And is it, what are the trends though? Is it on an upward, is it on a rise, is it controlled?
Well, unfortunately, it's been increasing, and it's exponentially in terms of the rate of infection is on epidemic proportion.
Wow.
Just to give you an example, back in 2007, there was like one HIV case that's being diagnosed a day.
One a day. This is 4 years ago in 2007.
Right.
Okay.
And as of 2010, there are like 5 new cases a day. And then the latest statistics as of February of 2011, like 6 were really
per day.
Per day.
Oh, that is.
So it's nowhere to seeing going down. It's definitely going up.
So, but with of course, I'm a little bit shocked because I didn't know that's a very, very, very big number. That's even more than cancers, right?
You see, that's the thing. This information is readily available for everyone. This is even on the DOH website. But
Department of Health.
Department of Health. And it's amazing that a lot of people, especially those identified in the most at-risk population, including the one that Bric mentioned, the men, don't know this information.
Right.
So, we need to push on and
to get it out in the open. We really need to do that.
And
right.
just to give you a caveat on that, these are only the reported cases.
So there
are more out there.
Those ones that I said who don't want to get tested because they don't want to.
Yeah. So right now, since the government started reporting HIV cases back in 1984 up to 2010, there are 6,000 HIV reported cases in the country. But again, emphasize reported.